Welcome to the call. My name is Keith Abel. I am a pharmacist, a home-based entrepreneur, and a health and wellness consultant. Uh, uh, I am personally with the Youngevity Company. Most of the people on this call are probably from Youngevity, but I do know that since I pasted it on Facebook, we will have some people from outside the company as well, and I want to welcome all of you. We're going to be, as I was saying a moment ago, we're going to be doing a series of trainings over the next few weeks, and it's all based off of the material from Big Al, Tom Big Al Schreider, and Mark Januszowski. I know I'm not saying his name properly, but Mark was also trained by Big Al, so that's who I'm basing all this training information off of. And let's just go ahead and get started. Everybody says, I just wish I knew what the other person was thinking. Of course, sometimes we're talking about our business. Sometimes we're talking about trying to communicate with our kids. And, sometimes we're talking about our personal relationships. But wouldn't it be great if you actually knew what the other person was thinking? Well, your career in network marketing will change once you discover the three things that are in the prospect's head and how to talk to those three things. Now, I want to show you how to make recruiting easy and fun. Because if it's fun for your team, then they're going to do it, and they're going to do it more often than they would if it was difficult. Now, a lot of you know my own personal story. I was suffering in network marketing prison. I didn't know what went through the prospects' heads. So, I had a really rough time in network marketing in the early days because of it. So would it be okay with you if I shared how my network marketing career turned around in an instant? Well, I've failed in 14 different network marketing companies in the past. Then something challenging happened in my life, both good and bad at the same time. I had been working 70 to 80 hours a week as a pharmacist, and I was really tired of working so much. So I was looking for answers, but I just didn't know what to do. I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki that made me realize I had to develop another stream of income. So I kind of stumbled into network marketing. I studied the industry, and I decided that it was exactly what I was looking for, but one big thing was holding me back. I was making a lot of money as a pharmacist, especially working overtime, and even more back in those days when I worked those extra hours. So much so that I didn't really have the time necessary to devote to the business. Now, not realizing that failure was my own fault, I ended up joining more than 14 different companies over a few year period of time, and tried every marketing system out there that I could find, online marketing, offline marketing, just about anything I could find I would try out, but I continued to have no success. Well, long story short, a couple weeks before Christmas in 2011, I lost that full-time job, and after a year of partial employment, I decided that although I had tried network marketing before and failed, it just seemed to be the only way that I was going to get ahead and regain the income that I lost. So I got out, I reached out to Dr. Wallach himself and decided that I was going to do whatever it took to figure things out. And finally, I was going to do whatever it took so I could get to the point that I no longer had to rely on a job. So I started listening to all these so-called experts in network marketing, and all they were talking about is setting goals and persistence and never give up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've all heard those things before. All the things I was told before that I just knew didn't work for me. And I certainly had goals. I certainly had persistence. I mean, I've been trying to succeed in this business since 2007, so I had the persistence. I had the belief. I knew it worked for others, and they weren't any smarter than I was. I read the book Think and Grow Rich. I was grossly underemployed, and I had a burning desire to find a better way. So I decided to seek out other highly successful people in network marketing and find some things that they all had in common. I actually had the opportunity in 2012 to travel all across this country with Dr. Wallach. And at times away from the lectures and so forth, I sat down and picked his brain about his early days in network marketing. A lot of people don't realize that Dr. Wallach was a superstar in network marketing before he built his own company. And I took some time and sat down with him and just started picking his brain at what he did when he was starving and what created success for him. I began reading, actually devouring all kinds of books about successful people, both inside and outside of our industry. In all those studies, I came across Tom Big Al Schreider. I heard Big Al tell a story that really made me think. Would it be okay, guys, if I shared that story with you today? All right. Well, here's the story. There were two distributors. One named Nancy, who's cashing these huge checks, a great achiever, and one named Al, who's not cashing any checks at all. They enrolled in the same system. They had the same price. They paid the same price. They attended the same meetings. All those meetings were available to both equally. They were marketing the same product. Their belief level was sky high. They're both putting in 15 hours a week, working the same comp plan, the same commitment. They have the same upline sponsor. They even lived in the same city. Why is one cashing a huge check and the other one wasn't cashing any checks at all? Then Big Al said one word that changed my life as he explained the difference between Al, who wasn't cashing any checks, and Nancy, the big achiever. He said it was really simple. It's skills. And you know what? Finally, a light bulb just went off. When I switched careers, before I was a pharmacist, I was actually in the financial services industry. And when I switched careers from financial services into pharmacy, I had to go back to school and learn a whole new set of skills. So here it is in network marketing. I'd forgotten about everything I'd been taught about business and learning new skills, the basic skills, and was just jumping right into network marketing without even considering the skills. So skills were the only difference between Nancy and Al, that everything else is exactly the same. The only difference between you and someone you know who's climbing through the rank levels, the only difference between you and them is what they say and what they do. And that's what we need to learn to do. That is to learn exactly what to say and exactly what to do. And in this training, we're going to talk about it from the prospect's point of view. What goes through the prospect's head? Basically, what I learned from Big Al was this. This is a skill-based business. So if we're going to make some money, then we're going to need to learn some skills. And knowing this skill, what goes through the prospect's head, is a monster. It doesn't matter about any other skills. If you don't get this one, none of the other ones ever come into play. So let's get real specific about this. What to do and what to say. Here's some really basic stuff. You want to build a list, of course, and you want to continue to add to it. We've talked about that before. Whether you're using stuff online or offline, old school, new school, it really doesn't matter. If you don't know what to say or do, as Big Al says, if your friends and relatives didn't like what you had to say, strangers aren't going to like it any better. So let's figure out what to do and say. So no matter what no matter how you're accumulating names, you'll be much more effective with those leads. You need to identify the key components of the business and learn and follow a protocol. Now, I call this a three-step plan, the recruiting cycle, and I'll explain that to you as we go along. I don't want to disrupt whatever you're doing now with whatever teams you're on now, but I think you're going to agree when we're done that all recruiting, no matter what kind of system you're using, all recruiting falls into three basic categories. So just for the training, we're going to call it a three-step plan. Of course, you want to leverage your upline. That's going to be key in your business. And you must learn what goes through the prospect's head, because once you master it, they're ready to buy. They're ready to join instantly in the snap of a finger. That doesn't mean they're ready to pull out their credit card and ready to join your deal within 30 seconds. What it means is they're ready to buy into your next suggestion, and they're ready to join you in reviewing additional information. You need to master what to say, because it really is all about them, the prospect. It's about what's going through their head, because if you don't know what's in their head, you're in a lot of trouble. And if you know what's in their head, but you don't know how to speak to their subconscious mind and get them to make the decision that you would like them to make, well, then it doesn't matter how much or how many people you talk to. So let's get right into the skills. You're going to see there's actually three basic areas in network marketing business. You've got the three-step plan, which is a recruiting cycle. You've got communicating with your up and down line, and you want to build your business from event to event. And what we're going to concentrate today is on the three-step plan part of that. The people who tend to do all three of those things I just mentioned, they work on the three-step plan for recruiting, they stay in communications with their upline and their downline, and they build from event to end. The people that consistently do that seem to grow. But you're going to notice that the three-step plan is the first of that sequence of things that you do in your business. And why is that? It's because it's hard to get people to events if you don't have anybody in your group. And it's hard to communicate with your downline organization if you don't have anybody in your downline. So you have to take first things first. Now, if you're brand new and you don't have any organization at all, you're going to want to spend 100% of your time in the recruiting phase of your business, at least for the first month. And then as your group grows, you're going to make sure that you try to maintain a minimum of 80% of your time on the three-step plan, the recruiting cycle. You'll spend other time with managing your downline and trying to get people to events. So let's just talk a little bit about the recruiting process, which, like I said before, is what I call the three-step plan. And again, I don't want you to, don't want to disrupt anything that you've been taught by your existing upline leaders. But you're going to find out that all the recruiting that you do actually does break down into these three steps. So the first is we have to strike interest and sort the serious from the kidding around. And of course, in step one, we're going to book a follow-up, and you want that to be specific. You measure your success rate based on whether or not you booked a follow-up. 10 people can agree to look at your information, and none of them actually count if you don't book a follow-up to get back in touch with them. So make sure you learn how to book a follow-up. And I've posted many videos in the past on how to book a follow-up, and I'll include links to that on this blog when I get it done. In step two, the prospect is going to review the information. It could be a third-party tool like a DV or CD or webcast. It could be a hotel meeting. But the point is you can leverage these things because you can have several people reviewing the information at the same time. And in step three, so you can get more people through step 1 and 2 reviewing information in less time, then obviously it tips the scale of being able to collect an affirmative decision in step 3 with your upline. So now John Wooden, he always taught that the more concerned I am about the things I cannot control, the less I'll be able to do about the things I can control. I have very little control over the prospect reviewing the information after we give it to them. And we have very little control over the decision they're going to make ultimately. Now, there's a few things in some of the skills that we're going to teach, particularly there's a skill called the most people skill and the building instant rapport skill that we're going to go over in the future that will tip the scales in your favor on that. But what we're going to talk about today is getting the people to the presentation to start with. What Nancy does is Nancy becomes an expert at step 1, because if she can get more people to quickly agree in less than 2 minutes to review her information, she can talk to a lot more people. Whereas Al, he'll spend 40, 50 minutes with somebody and not realize he's creating several problems for himself. Anyway, step 1, we strike interest. Step 2, they review the information. And step 3, we get back and collect their decisions. The big money is made by people who develop a highly effective way, meaning a high conversion rate, of people saying yes in step 1. Doing it in the minimum amount of time they can so they can process more people and their team can process people much faster. Now, there's several ways to talk to what goes through the prospect's head, but if you can get on the same page with your upline, you become, of course, the upline for your downline. That's what you become, the upline for your downline, and you get them on the same page, you're going to experience incredible growth as long as you understand a couple really simple principles. The first thing is the plan. the product, and the company has absolutely nothing to do with a prospect agreeing to look at information. I want you to listen to that again. The plan, the product, and the company has absolutely nothing to do with the prospect agreeing to look at your information. Now, I'm not saying they're not important in terms of how you feel about what you're representing, but they have nothing to do with the business of doing business, meaning they have nothing to do with the transaction and traction point. And what's that? New people agreeing to look. See, Al doesn't understand that. Nancy does. She sees it from the prospect's point of view. Al doesn't see it that way. And his belief cripples him because he's always talking about the plan, the product, and the company. And I'll explain to you why that turns prospects off. Here's what Nancy knows. She knows that all of us have this in common. We're born. We have experiences. Our perception of those experiences create a template that forms our own personal reality. This is why two brothers a year apart that grew up in the same house, had the same parents, ate the same meals, got on the same school bus, went to the same school, had the same teachers, the same coaches. Why are they as different as day and night? They had the same experiences, but their perception of those experiences was completely different. And Nancy leverages this truth. Al, he doesn't. He's impressed with the marketing plan and the ingredients and the product and how wonderful the owners are. That's what he talks about. Nancy understands that their very first experience, how pleasant it was, how much time it took, and how much the prospect understood, that's going to create a reality in their mind that becomes their perception of what they will have to do. I think you're already starting to understand why I'm talking to somebody, why talking to somebody for 30 minutes about ingredients or the bonus money or the on the 83rd level is what Al's problem is. Nancy, she just wants people to agree to look at the information because she realizes she can get it done in less than 90 seconds. They're not going to think, I don't have the time for this. It's really critical before we actually teach the skill of what goes through the prospect's head that you understand why it works. Inside our head, there are two minds. You've got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is the part that makes all the decision. It's actually pretty amazing when you think about it. When you have a thought like you're having right now, your conscious mind has about 2,000 synaptic connections firing. But on the subconscious mind's level, a whopping 4 million synaptic connections are firing. And that subconscious mind makes all the decisions. Well, quite frankly, everybody knows that. So let me give you a little social proof. We're driving down the road at 10 o'clock at night. We're coming back from a opportunity meeting. And we decide that we're hungry. So we get off of an exit from the interstate that we've never been down before. We pull down to the bottom of the ramp, and there's a parking lot with kind of beat up pavement. There's some potholes in it. There's 4 lights. One's burned out. One's kind of dim. There's 4 or 5 beat up pickup trucks there around this little restaurant. There's small windows so we can't see in it. And right next door, there's a parking lot that's about the same size, but it's beautifully paved with nice painted lines marking the parking spots. There's 6 huge floodlights, big picture windows. There's about 50 to 60 new cars. We can see inside. People are laughing, enjoying themselves, and having a great time. Which one of the two are you going to stop at? Anybody out there? Which one of the two are you all going to stop at? Yeah, everybody says the second one. When we ask why, the answer is always the same. It's cleaner, it's safer, and the food's better. Reality is we have absolutely no evidence to base that decision on. That little greasy spoon-looking place, that guy could have just beaten Bobby Flay in a throwdown for the best ribs in America, and ribs might be your favorite thing to eat, but you'll never know it because your subconscious mind made that decision, believe it or not, in 7 seconds before it even became a conscious thought. So the subconscious mind not only makes the decisions, it doesn't forget anything ever. When it recognizes an experience transpiring in front of it, it recalls everything that is closely related to that experience in your past. anything that was like or similar, and that's where the decision gets made. Al doesn't really understand that, but Nancy does. Inside our mind, there are two filters that are running 24/7. The first filter is given by the creator, self-preservation. And the second one's actually acquired. It's a salesman filter. Are they going to try to sell me something? So the main thing here that we want to do is to get past that salesman filter and get into their curiosity factor. That's what's really important, and we're going to leverage some important information that I'm going to share with you to talk to the three things that are in the prospect's mind. Let me prove to you that the subconscious makes all the decisions. So if I throw out these words out there to you, who do you think this would be? High pressure, loud? Who do you think that would be? Need a few more hints? All right, let me throw some more hints out there. Suit, smooth talker, con artist, liar. It's amazing. People say salesman, and specifically car salesman, all the time. Now I'm not knocking car salesmen because I've worked with some fine car salespeople in the past, and I've recommended them to others. But that's the kind of thing that comes up after bad experiences. And here's what's really interesting. I said, guess who? I didn't say guess which occupation. It's a little bit of a trick with words, but fundamentally, your subconscious mind immediately started to identify an occupation rather than a person that you might know. Now, this could be an actor. It could be a character in a movie that gave you this bad impression of car salespeople. It could be a lot of different things. It may not actually be personal experience with that car salesperson. Now, I was easily able to guide you to that response that I wanted to get because of being able to understand that the subconscious mind makes all the decisions. And by planting a few words in particular places, we can kind of guide people by speaking to their subconscious. So let's show you how this applies in business. The prospect's initial perception of how the business works is absolutely everything. Nothing else matters. Nancy gets that. Al doesn't. And shortly you're going to get it too. So what are the three things in the prospect's mind when business comes up? Can I make money? What do I have to do to make some money? And number three, can I do it? If you talk about the plan, the product, or the company like our friend Al, the sales filter is going up. Beep, beep, run, Scotty, run. Salesman approaching, shields up. Here's why. The subconscious mind thinks of every negative experience it's ever had with a salesperson. It thinks of every negative thing it's ever heard about a home-based business, and you are absolutely dead in the water. They're going to want to avoid you. Nancy knows how to get around those things and speak to these things, getting positive on questions 1, 2, and 3. And she knows how to do it in less than 90 seconds. Now let's remember the name of the skill, and as we start to get into it, the skill is what goes through the prospect's head. The three-way call is all about them, meaning the three things that are in their mind. It's about the prospect. It's about their initial perception. So what I like to do is have my upline on the phone when I do step 1. And this is what I've been teaching my team. So Nancy's on the phone, and Nancy and her upline, John, call us prospect. And all Nancy does is introduce John. And I'm going to show you word for word how to do that. She introduces John. That's it. She's done. What's the prospect? We're going to call him Harry. What's the prospect subconsciously instantly recognize? That all he would have to do is introduce people, and he knows he can do that. So he's already started to get 2 of the 3 things lined up in his head. Now, let your upline do the inviting. I want you to put together a simple script that's less than 60 to 90 seconds and use your upline until you've mastered it. It usually takes about a week or 2 to master the script yourself. And we're going to, I'm going to give you some links that will help you with that. I mentioned a minute ago the most people skill. I want you to write down this website. It's going to give you the most people skill, so that'll help you with doing the script. And also, I'm going to give you a website here for the instant rapport skill. If you don't have something to write down this with, then that's okay. We're going to post it on the blog. But the website for the most people skill is simply mostpeople.aimhighforsuccess.com. That's mostpeople.aimhighforsuccess.com. And the instant rapport skill, I bet you can't guess, it's instantrapport.aimhighforsuccess.com. So Nancy's going to call the prospect, Harry. And Nancy's going to introduce Harry to John. And John's going to invite Harry to review some information. In step 2, the prospect does that on their own, or maybe you're going to bring them to a meeting or something. But it's a great sorting device, because if they're not going to spend 60 minutes on the phone, guess what? If they're not going to spend 60 seconds going to a meeting, then they're not going to put in 10 hours a week in work. So you might as well find out right away. You see the value here of getting these things done at step 1 in less than 90 seconds on about 3 different levels. First, the prospect's not going to think it's going to take them a lot of time to do the business, and it doesn't. Step number 2, if it takes you less time to process people at step 1, you can process more people at step 1, which means you have a lot more people in the pipeline. And you're going to let your upline do step 3. And why is that? Well, again, you're just going to introduce. Nancy's just going to introduce John, and she's going to listen. Now let's just lose a little common sense here. Harry, our prospect, he took the call. We told him it was a business call. He stayed on the phone. He agreed to get some information. He reviewed the information. He agreed to a follow-up, and he showed up for the follow-up appointment in step 3. Guess what, folks? He said yes 6 times to the fact that he wants money already. The question becomes, if he says yes 6 times, I love Mark Twain. He says common sense isn't so common. It's never about the time or the money. It's only about one thing, why they don't move forward, and we'll get to that in a moment. So their subconscious mind said yes. They know they can make money here. They might not be sure exactly how they make it, but they know they can make some money here. And we're going to make a huge impact on them in step 3, because what we like to say to people is this. If I was John, Nancy's upline, I would say to Harry, so Harry, what's Nancy done on this call? This is one where they're collecting their decisions. And let's say Harry has 2 kids that he wants to pay for their education. I would say, so Harry, let me ask you a question. What's Nancy done on this call? The answer is always one of 2 things, nothing or listen. Then I'd say, Harry, is that something you think you could do? Well, yeah, I could do that. Well, would it be okay with you if Nancy and I did for you what I'm doing for Nancy? What starts happening here is you're starting to get him to understand that he already knows what to do and that he can do it. Now, let me give you more details about this, because it's really important. When we're talking to a prospect, we're actually speaking to 3 people: the child inside of all of us, the adult, and the parent. On step 1 and step 3, we're talking to all 3 people simultaneously. Can they make money? That's the child part of us. I want more money for a house at the beach, or to go on vacation, or to get my wife home from work, or to get my husband off the road. We want the child to want the money. That's in this business. But the adult in every situation is going to say, well, all the money sounds good. Well, what would the child have to do to get the money? This is why it's so important to say, what's Nancy done on the call? And guess what? When they say nothing or listen, and we say to them, is that something that you think you could do? The adult's satisfied that they know what they'd have to do. And of course, this is going to get the parent's approval, because the parent realizes they've been introducing people their whole life. But there's going to be a tiny bit of skepticism, and this is how to get rid of it, because if you don't, it sounds too good to be true is going to be something that you're going to hear all the time. So this is why we say, what's Nancy done on the call? Well, I guess she just listened. That's right, Harry. She's just listened. Is that something you think you can do? Well, yeah, I think I could do that. Would it be okay if Nancy and I did the same thing for you that I'm doing for Nancy tonight? Well, they always say yes. There's one more part of this, and it may not be agreeable to you, but if Nancy and I work with you to build a group underneath you, the company is going to reward us with an extra $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Do you have any problem with Nancy and I making $4,000 or $5,000 a month if we can get you to $8,000 to $12,000 a month? I'm going to tell you right now, guys, that's magical. They always say No, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But it does something even bigger. It eradicates on the subconscious mind it sounds too good to be true, because what we never tell people is what's in it for us. When you tell people what's in it for you, then it sounds too good to be true, just disappears. So stop pretending, like a lot of us do early on, that we're eagles that fell from the sky with some wonder product and some wonder compensation plan, that we're going to do all this stuff for them, tell them what's in it for you, and that sounds too good to be true just disappears. The parent gives its approval. The adult already knows what to do, and of course the child already wants the money. That's why they've shown up 6 different times at each juncture and they've said yes. Piece of cake. Getting approval is really easy once you understand the details of this. The decision has nothing to do with the plan, the product, or the company. I'll pause there because I want you to really listen to that. The decision has nothing to do with the plan, the product, or the company. The subconscious makes the decision. Here's something that's really critical to understanding how this process works in the prospect's mind. Look, when you were 1 year old, or when your kid was 1 year old, what happened? We got up, we tried to walk, we fell down, everybody laughed. We got back up again, we fell down, got back up, fell down. People laughed, they clapped, no big deal. In other words, trying things and failing at them, not doing well with them, we didn't even know we were failing at it. We saw people laughing, so we kept on doing it. Now, sometime between the 4th grade and 10th grade, that beautiful part of us that was willing to try things without worrying about what other people was thinking gets pruned out of us. People criticize us. They make fun of us. And the subconscious mind never forgets the pain when we lose our innocence and starts worrying about what other people think. We hate being ridiculed. We hate being criticized. And nobody wants to join a business where they might end up being criticized, where they might be embarrassed for something that they joined that didn't work. What a huge piece of information. And there's a very easy way to assure them that that's not going to happen without actually verbalizing. So how do we do that? How do we communicate that? Well, Nancy's already done it. See, by using her upline, she's created a blueprint in the subconscious mind, and when we ask them, what is it that Nancy has done on the call, and they say nothing, it feels safe for the prospect to move forward because they know how to introduce people to other people. They've been doing it their entire life. It's familiar. And when things are familiar, people feel safe around them. Their subconscious mind instantly understands what they'd be doing. There are no filters up. Nancy's obtained the parents' approval. Can you see why Al, talking about the bonus volume on the 83rd level and some ingredients that's in the product and giving them scientific reports, well, they don't know if they're true or not. What they do know is true is all they did in this transaction in terms of their relationship with Nancy was let Nancy introduce them to somebody, and guess what? They know it's familiar, and people tend to move forward when things are familiar. It's so sad that gets pruned out of us, that people aren't really adventurous. But why fight it? Why not take advantage of it? It's a piece of information that working this way will build your business faster, making things as familiar as you can and as short as you can. Stay away from all the jargon. Let's say let's save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Everybody that makes big money in network marketing knows that the biggest lie in the network marketing industry is that you just have to find the right people. We all say that when we're inexperienced. I said it all the time. We listen to that. And it's not a bad thing that people say that. They're really just trying to encourage people. But it doesn't have anything to do with finding the right people. You guys want some proof of that? Let me give you some proof. Everybody you know, let me say that again, everybody that you know wants to pay less in taxes. Everybody that you know would like more money. Everybody that you know would like to have more time. And everybody you know wants to be healthier. If everybody wants more time, more money, less taxes, and better health, and you're offering them more time, more money, less taxes, and better health, why the heck do they say no? If the right people are everywhere, then it really just depends on one thing, doesn't it? It depends on what we do and what we say. If you're really not sure about that, I want you to imagine yourself going to the grocery store. Okay? Go get 4 or 5 bags of groceries and come to the trunk of your car. Now I want you to imagine a stranger is walking up to you. Nice looking guy. He's got a white shirt on, blue windbreaker, and you tell him this story. Hey, I hurt my back. Could you load these into the car for me? So he does. Pull out a $100 bill and try to give it to him. What do you think his reaction is going to be? Well, now he might say, well, that's way too much money. That's fine. Don't worry about it. He might say, hey, why don't you give that to charity? Or he might even say, hey, that's great. You got any other chores I can help you with? The point is, it's not going to be difficult or an awkward situation. Now, picture the same guy. Let's just rewind about 20 or 30 seconds. Picture the same guy coming up to you. You got the groceries. You tell him the same story. I hurt my back. He throws them in the trunk for you, and when he's done, you pull out a gun and stick it in his face and grab him by the throat and say, give me all your money, or I'm going to blow your brains out all over the back of this car. Let me ask you a question. Do you think you'd get a different reaction from that person? It's the same person. It's the same situation. It all depends on what you said and what you did. Whether you tried to give him $100 or you tried to hold him up, you're going to get completely different reactions. So the biggest lie in network marketing is you just have to find the right people. I mean, common sense is going to tell you that the right people are everywhere. So let's light a fire under everybody by improving ourselves at step 1 and getting in specifically what to say. If you want to make big bucks, you've got to improve in step 1. You need to use proper phone etiquette. Let the prospect know that someone's on the phone with you immediately. Don't have a conversation with the person and say, oh, by the way, I have my business partner on the line. The number 2 concept here, and I'll go over what to say exactly word for word, but you're going to get the concept first, and the words are going to make more sense. Get consent to present. So do you have 2 minutes for us? If they don't, want to talk business, they're going to say, no, I'm kind of busy. I always kind of laugh, of course, inside. We never want to embarrass the prospect, but if they can't talk, why do they pick up the phone? Well, obviously, they don't want to be involved in a conversation. No big deal then. You want to introduce and edify your upline once you get permission to continue. And here's why, even when you're making big money, people that you know don't believe that you're making big money from home. And that's why you always want to, no matter how much money you're using, you always want to use your upline to help you out. Tom Chenault talks about it all the time, getting his upline on calls with him. If I were to say to you, I'm really tight with Tom Cruise. I've met him several times. He's a good friend of mine. You wouldn't believe that, would you? But if I told you that I work out at a gym and a guy that used to be a trainer for the stars in Hollywood and California and is originally from here, he moved back here, and I met him, and about 3 times a week we kind of work out a little bit together. We become friends. Anyway, one day Tom Cruise sticks his head in the door, and he says, we're here shooting a film, and my friend that I work out with says, ask if it's okay if this guy Keith comes along to go get some coffee with Tom. And Cruise says, well, sure. So we go across the street, we have some coffee. He's a hell of a guy. He stays in touch with me. We text from time to time. We even talk on the phone 2 or 3 times a year. Can't wait for my daughter to meet him. It's going to be a big surprise for her. Which one of those 2 stories are you going to believe? You wouldn't believe that I knew Tom Cruise, but you would believe that I knew somebody that does. These 3 words right here will make you a fortune. Promote, promote, promote. You promote your upline. Your upline promotes the tool that you want them to view. It might be the DVD or going to the movie meeting or a conference or a webcast. You promote your upline so he or she doesn't have to. They promote the tool, and together you promote your system. Why do we promote the system? Your system and training that you have is the best recruiting tool that you have. You want to know why? If I've done my job, you should know why. Here's why. Because the adult and the parent wants to know what to do and if they can do it. And information about the plan, the product, and company doesn't get it done. But information about what they'd be doing to work the business, the training, will get it done. So if you have a simple system that's easy to understand and follow, that's your best recruiting tool. If you want to build a team of business builders, and that's what I want to do, then you want to plug them into the training rather than information about the ingredients in a marketing plan. Anyway, promote, promote, promote. You promote your upline, edify your upline. Don't gush all over them. You know, it's not a subjective thing. Oh, he's so wonderful. He doesn't kick dogs. Just a couple quick, simple facts, and it doesn't even have to be about network marketing. You promote your upline. Your upline promotes the tool, the information, and then together you promote how simple the system is. And Youngevity has a simple system and some great DVDs, not DVDs, but great video that talks about the system. So now that you've got the concept, let's give you some word for word. Hey, Sally, I have my business partner on the line with me, John Smith. Do you have 2 minutes for us? Here's why this sentence is important. It's leading John. It's letting John know that it's a business call. We don't call people up, hi, how are you, how's your wife, and all that. We talked about that before. They're going to feel trapped. Also, you want to use the word partner, not associate, but partner. It's a more powerful word. Hi, Sally. And again, don't hesitate. Hi, Sally. I have my business partner on the line with me, John Smith. Do you have 2 minutes for us? Sure. John's a home-based business expert. He's built a multi-million-dollar business sitting at his kitchen table. He's considered one of the top 5 trainers in the country. Sally, this is John. John, this is Sally. That's it. You're done. Now, don't worry about the process in network marketing. It could be something this simple. Hi, Sally. I have my business partner online with me, Devine. Do you have 2 minutes for us? Yeah, sure. Devine's an extremely successful entrepreneur. She's a top producer at Honda North. She's raised 2 children on her own, and it seems that every business venture she gets into, she's incredibly successful. John, this is Devine. Devine, this is John. Really simple. It doesn't matter. Just 3 facts. Remember, they're going to believe that you know somebody that's successful. So just remember a couple facts about them. The credibility of the inviter. Remember you're the introducer, and your upline is the inviter. And of course, when you build the group, people are going to introduce you, and you're going to be the inviter. So you want, what I'm trying to say there is, you want to build the credibility of the person that's on the call with you, because they're going to be the one actually inviting them to see the tool. Now you're going to get some answering machines. So what are you going to say when they call back? You need to learn and use the same invitation script that your upline is going to be using. And the easiest way to do that, I'm going to again send you the link to that website where you can the most people skills and the building instant report skills, and those will help you develop a very short 60-second script that you can use. In fact, on Tuesday, I'm going to actually do a training on that itself. How to give a presentation in 60 seconds. So we're going to do that on Tuesday, and we'll fit that in right here. Now you can get a couple skills that will show you how to put a script together, and once you learn what I'm going to teach you next Tuesday, you're going to have a better than 90% of the people that you contact saying yes to hearing your presentation. And that's what we're going to be talking about on Tuesday. So let's review. Everybody says the difference between Harry and Nancy is skills. I'm sorry, Al and Nancy is skills. Everybody knows that Nancy knows what to do, what to say. And what does Nancy do? It's really simple. She uses a 3-step plan or the recruiting cycle, whatever vernacular you want to use, to strike interest, to sort and book and follow up, step 1. And then the prospect looks at the information in step 2, and she gets back on the phone with her upline to collect a decision in step 3. It's that simple. What does Nancy say? It's really easy. Nancy says, hi, Frank. I have my business partner on the line. Do you have 2 minutes for us? And then she introduces and edifies her upline. Never, 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 not once does Nancy promote the prospect. She doesn't talk about how great the prospect is. She only talks about how great her upline is. That's who we want to be the authority on the phone call. That puts them as the expert on the phone call. Bottom line is, the successful rep like Nancy is simply going to do the things that the unsuccessful rep like Al don't make a conscious decision to do. Working in tandem with your upline or a cross-line person. It doesn't even have to be your upline. It could be two people. It could be one of your downline people. The two of you work together. Let the one person be the expert on the calls when you're calling your people, and then when you're calling his people, you be the expert. So it doesn't even have to be upline. If you don't have an upline that's active in the business or that's interested in doing that, just find somebody else is. It could be somebody cross-line and just work together. I think what's really important is that Nancy uses the 3-step plan. Al doesn't. She understands etiquette, making sure that the prospect knows before they have a chance to say a word that somebody's on the phone. She garners consent, introduces and promotes her upline because she understands what's going through the prospect's head. What do I have to do? Can I do it? She's going to take care of those two things in the first 20 or 30 seconds because they're going to realize all she did was to introduce her to her upline. They know that they don't that they know what they'd have to do. They don't know it consciously yet. We're going to drive that up to their conscious mind in the step 3 when we're closing. But they know what they have to do, and they know that they can do it because they've been doing it their whole life. The reason that she only introduces is that she knows and masters this particular skill, and by doing so, she's planting a blueprint subconsciously in the prospect's head. This prospect doesn't know yet that they already know what they would have to do, and obviously they're going to believe that they can do it once we point out to them that that's all Nancy did was invite. Introduce John. It's really simple. Would it be okay with you if we talked about what happens in real life? What happens in real life is when you do 3-ways with your upline, on average, you're going to connect with a person that you're trying to reach only about 16% of the time, which means you're going to get some callbacks. So you're going to need to be prepared, and that's what we're going to go over again on Tuesday. This is the first sentence that Nancy's going to memorize. I'm glad you called back, John. I only have 2 minutes, and that's all I really need. And then, like I said, Tuesday I'm going to show you what you have to say at that point. She's going to use the script that we're going to put together that includes a short rapport builder, meaning people will instantly trust what she had to say, and then the most people skill. Most people skills a lot of fun, and it gets about 94% of the people to say yes. But by telling John that she only has 2 minutes allows her to control the conversation and not get drawn into a lot of stuff. Now John might start asking some questions. Here's the perfect answer. John, it will take me 2 hours to explain to you what I'm so excited about, and then you'll still want to listen to this material. The key here is that Nancy closes out the question and answer period before it even gets started. She says, what would be easier for you, John, to set an appointment where we can talk for 2.5 hours to 3 hours and then get you the information, or just get you the information to start with? That's really strong. So the way it would go is John asked the question, what's this all about? John, it would take me 2 hours. Like I said, I only have 2 minutes. It would take me 2 to 2.5 hours to explain it to you. Then you would still want to see the information I want to send you. So tell me, John, what would be easier for you, to set a time when we can talk for 2.5 hours, or just drop off this 30-minute DVD? He's always going to go for the option, the option that Nancy wants. That's the 30-minute DVD, piece of cake. So what is it that all top earners do to become top earners? It's not really a secret, and it seems so simple that most people just overlook it. Some are great speakers, some are not. Some are great closers, some are not. Some are great presenters, some are terrible presenters. But they all have one thing in common. They all cheat. How do they cheat? They get this part, that the initial contact part, they get that down so it comes out like their name. I want you to remember this acronym, PPPPP. That's 5 P's. PPPPP. It stands for Perfect Practice Prevents Poor Performance. And that's what they all have in common. They've practiced. Failure to practice is failing to duplicate a profitable action. Failure to duplicate a profitable action prevents success. you bring some new reps into the business. They're going to introduce you, and you're going to be the inviter. So you want to listen to what your newer people are saying. Go over the little script that you create with them, because we all play in real life like we practice. This formula 25-25 is used. It means that you're going to read the script that you create 25 times. Then you're going to take a 2-minute break. Then you're going to read it 25 times as fast as you possibly can. No matter how many mistakes you make, you just keep reading it. And you do this while you're standing in front of a mirror with paper in your hand. After those 50 run-throughs, especially the second set, you might make dozens and dozens of mistakes. Don't back off. Just keep going on the script the same way. When you're done, that thing will come out like your name. You need to learn how to invite without mentioning the plan, the product, or the company. Now, we're trying to be clandestine about it. We're not trying to hide it. When I first started working the system with a few people, they were really skeptical. But better than 94% of the people said yes. And what was really stunning is we could go sometimes 3 to 4 weeks. We've gone as long as 9 weeks without anybody even asking us the name of the company. Because once you learn the secret language of the prospect and you leverage the most people's skills and the instant rapport skills, they're saying yes within the first 15 seconds to getting the information. So why get into all that? Let the tool do all the work for you. Your job is just to raise their curiosity. You know, so many times we get on the phone and we just want to explain everything to the people. And that's what Al's doing. That's what he's doing wrong. Your entire job is to raise curiosity and get them to the tool. And that's what I'm trying to drive home here. So failure to prevent profitable action prevents success. What's the one action that all top earners have in common? They're prepared. They're well practiced at bringing the business up and getting people to agree to looking at information in a very short time. Never, under any circumstances, promote the prospect. And I know I've said that before, but when you're on the call and you're introducing people, never promote the prospect, because when you promote the prospect, that takes, the inviter that you're actually trying to promote, it kind of takes them down from being the authority level, and you've got competition there between authority, your prospect and your inviter. So you always, I know in the past you all have heard where they tell you to edify your upline leader and then edify your prospect. Don't edify the prospect. You want to keep them in an inferior position. It's a subconscious thing. Edify your upline member, not your prospect, when you're doing the three-way call. Let me give you a 20-year case study in response to this training. This is Al K. and Nancy D. Al K. is the know-it-all, the big ego guy. I can do it myself. I know how to invite people. Nobody can do the marketing plan like I can. I can explain this better than my upline. I saw that 3-step plan and training thing. I don't need that. I want to talk to this person before I put you on the call. And Al, of course, doesn't grow, and he's going to blame. And as long as we're in the blame mode, we can't make any changes because we don't look at ourselves. But Nancy D., who we call Nancy Discoverer, she practices, knowing that she's going to become the inviter someday. She understands that the subconscious makes all the decisions. She buys into the premises, and she builds her scripts around the information that she got here. She role plays with her new reps, so they're prepared for callbacks. And that's why Nancy grows and Al doesn't. The benefits of working with your upline or your crossline or whatever person you're going to work with are just incredible. You're going to have professionals helping you that have vested interest in your success, especially if it's your upline. So there's no pressure on you. It's crucial. When Nancy calls Harry, she's pretty new in the business, and we understand that. What the prospect is seeing, though, is that there's no pressure on Nancy. All she did was introduce him to John. So he's going to know what subconsciously, no, there's not going to be pressure on me. This speaks to the pressure pack subconscious. Our courage rises. Let's face it, we were told even back when we were kids, hold hands when crossing the street. We learned the buddy system in Boy Scouts. Courage goes up when we work in teams. What I think is really important is to see how it's done. So I'm going to give you a little 2-part quiz that's only going to take about 5 seconds here. If you get both of these right, then I did my job here. When Al calls Joanne by himself, what does Joanne think that she has to do to build the business? She thinks that she's going to have to pick up the entire business and put it on her shoulders. She thinks that she has to work alone. Here's the second one. When Nancy calls Ted and has her upline Mary, introduces Mary to Ted, what does Ted think he has to do to be successful? Obviously, if I did my job, Ted knows, oh, all I have to do is call my friends and people that I know and introduce them to Mary, or introduce them to Nancy. I hope you got both of those, because that means I did my job. Now Nancy's group is going to explode because she understands the difference between getting checks and earning checks. If you've been through some of the trainings on my blog sites, my websites before, and you really, I lost my train of thought. I guess it doesn't matter. I lost my train of thought. But anyhow, let's talk about how you have. I don't know what it was. How you've got to learn the skills, to do the job, and that's the whole point here, is to learn the skills to inviting. I want you to think about when you were a little kid, when it's time to start tying their shoes. We have them hold one string perpendicular to the floor, and of course we tie the bow around it. In a few days, the kid reaches over and he tries to tie it himself. He doesn't do a very good job at first, and you've got to tighten it up for him, maybe the second or third time, but eventually he's tying that bow okay himself. Then usually within a week or two, it's fine, and he's doing everything just fine. And it's the same situation here. You're going to work with your upline to do these presentations, but as you're listening to the upline, you're eventually going to get what to do so you can do that with your downline. You be the upline. So you see the difference between getting checks. We get checks when people enroll, but we actually earn those checks by teaching others what to do so they can do it without us. This is a teaching business, so we have to keep learning. Again, John Wooden taught, it's what I learned after I know it all that makes a difference. And the bottom line is this: business is the skill-based business. You can't teach what you don't know. It doesn't matter how great your plan, your products, your company, your founders, the meeting, your upline is. If you don't know how to teach people how to get a yes 80 to 90% of the time, and when I'm talking about yes, it's a yes to see the presentation, they're going to quickly cower away from the recruiting cycle, and that's where everything starts to fall apart. So you got to make sure you leverage your upline. You want to make sure you leverage the training that I'm going to put out here. You want to make sure you're on that call next Tuesday where we're going to talk about put together the actual script to get the appointments, and we'll see what happens in real life. Most people look at this and they think, gee, that seems a little slow, a slow way of doing it. But everybody that tries this says, wow, it's really much faster. It's a little slower starting out, but it grows much faster in the long run because we're in the duplication business. As we're doing these steps ourselves, and the people we're inviting see these steps, and we teach them to do the exact same thing, eventually it starts growing momentum. And like I said, the guy that I got a lot of this training from, Mark Janisowski, he built an organization of 10,000 active distributors with no upline support. He had no upline helping him, and he built an organization of 10,000 active distributors. Notice that active. He took turns being the introducer and the inviter with one of the people he brought into business with him. Him and his first person he introduced to the business, they took turns being the introducer and the inviter. And he when he first started, he hadn't earned any checks yet, and the first person he sponsored hadn't earned any checks yet. So sometimes he introduced Mark to people, and they would switch roles, and then he'd be the one to do the inviting. But what they would do is they would introduce him to the warm market, and he'd bring his warm market to Mark, and they just took turns. They just took turns edifying each other, and using the inviting script that we're going to talk about next week. So if you're going to make some money, you've got to learn the skills. Everybody knows this is a skill-based business. Nancy's next step is pretty obvious. She's built a massive list through Warm Market, Cold Market, whatever she's comfortable with. And she'll get in touch with her upline and people in her downline. She's going to schedule a bunch of three-ways using the information she's learned, and she's also going to review this training several times. That's what winners do. Nancy learns while Al doesn't. The skill title, what goes through the prospect's head, that's this skill. You know, Nancy learns it. Al ignores it. And experience has taught me that there are just two types of reps in network marketing: the types that duplicate profitable actions and the types that refuse to duplicate profitable actions because they want to do it their way. That's the way I was. That's the way I've been the first few years of my network marketing business. I'm trying to do it all my way and not trying to duplicate someone else. You've just got to let your upline know which group that you see yourself in. Everybody that sees this training says the same thing. Now I know what to do. I get what goes on in the prospect's head, but now that I'm the inviter, what do I actually say next? And again, guys, that's the training for next week, because we're going to talk about what to do next. We're going to talk about what the inviter is going to say there. Okay, I gave you the link a minute ago for the skills, the instant rapport skill. You can go ahead and look at that ahead of time before next week. It's instantrapport.aimhighforsuccess.com. And there's the most people skill. That's mostpeople.aimhighforsuccess.com. Both of these are actually Mark Janosowski doing a PowerPoint presentation talking about it. But I encourage you to go take a look at that before next week. Just want to say something else, too. I recruited a lady. I've talked about it briefly on the call this morning. But I recruited a lady on April 1st that is not a native born to the United States. She's actually born in Nigeria. Has a little bit of difficulty with our language barrier between the two of us, so it's kind of hard to understand each other. But she's learned this, and she's been utilizing me on the three ways, and this has actually sold me on what I need to be doing in my business. I mean, I think she's brought 6 or 7 three ways to me already in the last 2 weeks. She signed 3 up. Just made an appointment to talk to another lady for her tomorrow that's going to sign up. And this is what we're doing. What I was telling you guys on this call here, this is what we're doing. She's introducing the people and showing them Dr. Wallach's interview on the TV show with Benny Hinn, and then she's three-weighing the people into me. She's not trying to sell them anything or anything else. She's three-weighing them into me and letting me do all that. It's just amazing to me how powerful that is. And if you guys are not doing that yet, you know, that's the whole purpose of me doing this little training presentation tonight is to show you what it is that we're doing and that we're having success with, and encouraging you guys to do the same thing. I guess that's really all I've got to say tonight. Like I said, on Tuesday, we're going to be going into what to say to get people to come to your presentation, and how to give a 60-second presentation that will give them all the information they need to decide whether they want to join the business or not. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. So we're going to do that again at the same time next week at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'll put out the message on Brandy's call in the morning, and I'll also post it on Facebook like I've done in the past. I would like to encourage you guys to go to my other website called BestNetFun, BestNetFun.com. It's a training website I put together. I don't have this information on there yet, but I will be putting it on there. I'm going to completely revamp that website. But if you look over on the right-hand side of that website, there's a button that says subscribe to my newsletter. Go there and subscribe to that newsletter. When you click on that link, it's going to ask you if you're a member of my team, another longevity team, or outside of longevity. So just answer that question so I know where you are and what kind of information to send. But anytime I do any trainings or anything, I'll utilize that newsletter link to communicate to everybody. So I encourage you to go do that.